Welcome back to Good Neighbors, and as promised and told, question and answer. So the first question, I've heard it, we've heard it said before, we need to be reminded about it again. How much should someone have in reserve?
Okay, the reserves, there's a number of different kinds of reserves, but typically people say the emergency fund.
Okay.
Contingency fund, rainy day fund, whatever. And that's just the what if category. Okay, so these are things that may not happen. You hope they don't happen, but let's face it, Murphy is alive with his law and stuff happens. And so because of that, you need to have a certain amount of money. Now, how much kind of depends on the person.
Okay.
If you're retired and such, I'd say 3 to 6 months worth of spending money should be set aside. So that spending money. That's how much your cash flow out is each month. You should have that set aside. A long time ago they used to say a year. Then nobody ever did a year's worth, so they began saying 6 months. Then nobody did 6 months with it instead of 3 months. Nowadays people are happy they can get a month in. But really, a couple 3,000 handles the generic emergencies.
Okay.
The refrigerator went out, the car needs a repair, I have a deductible I have to pay, those kind of things. But now let's back up. Call up your health insurance people and say, if I was in the hospital for a year and they ran every test on me, what is my maximum out-of-pocket I would have to pay? Because guess what? You could be in the hospital for a year. Or even for me, I hit it in 3.5 days. When I had my appendicitis, it took me actually about a day and a half to hit my maximum out-of-pocket for the year.
Wow.
It's amazing how much money flows through the hospital. If you want to call it cash flow.
We won't.
And so, but most insurances, you have to pay up to a certain level. So what's your worst case? That is a nice number to keep aside.
Okay.
And that's certainly more than what a refrigerator or a washing machine or a quick trip to visit a sick or dying relative is going to cost you. Believe me, whatever
and
that
include that too, because people don't include that.
Right.
Visiting
all
a
of those
sick
things.
Okay.
To me, that's a couple $3,000 usually covers that. Now, if you're working, now your biggest problem is, what if I lose my job?
Okay.
And a lot of people know exactly what happens if they lose their job these days. And if they don't, they know a family member who has. So it's much more visible in our society nowadays. And I think it's woken people up to the fact that nobody's job is secure. I always joke with people, I can't lose my job because I work for myself. Yes, I may not have any income. So either way, if your job goes away, and it may be completely through no fault of your own, they may just close down the plant that you're at here and they move somewhere else. And they don't want you to move with them. In that case, how long is it going to take you to get a job? How much does it cost you to live? When we're talking about budget thing, that's going to tell you how much you got to live on. Now you can kind of figure out, in the worst case scenario for my particular job in this town, because in that case, the major employer for whatever you do has left, and everybody who does what you do is looking for a job at the same time. How long is it going to take me to find a job?
And then you have to factor in if you have to downsize.
May have to downsize, may have to move.
Yeah.
Because you may have to go to a Dallas or even out of state to find a job again. I hope that doesn't happen, but it happens to people.
No.
That's another lump of money
that's
going to have to set up.
Okay.
And so, if you're working at McDonald's and stuff, it may not take as long to find a minimum wage or slightly above minimum wage job.
But still.
If you need the job that's earning you, $80,000, $90,000 a year with benefits and all these kind of things, that might take a bit longer.
Yeah.
If you're the plant manager, it might take a year or two to get back up to whatever level you were, if you can find the stepping stone jobs to get there. If you ever get up to that level.
There. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with that, let's transition. You mentioned the job. What about the 401ks?
Okay.
Because there's some things taking place right now, or trying to in the works. So.
Well, I've actually heard talk, and if you read the paper and stuff, you'll hear talk that some people, and this is what you got to watch out, because every single thing under the sun is proposed in Congress somewhere. Somebody's talking about something. Some things come true, most don't. But one of the things they're talking about, if you notice, when you contribute money to a 401k plan, it doesn't count as income to you, which is one of the reasons people contribute to their 401k plan, or by that matter, a traditional IRA, or a SEP, or a simple plan, or a 403b, or any other retirement plans out there. People like the fact that they can save taxes. I might put $4,000 in, but I really only had to put $3,000. I might put $2,000 in, but it really only cost me like $1,500 because I saved taxes on it. Well, what if they took that away? Because why? Because they want the taxes. In case you haven't noticed, this country is spending a lot more than it's taking in.
Yes.
At an increasing rate. Okay? Now that may be good or bad depending, which thing you believe and stuff, but it's happening. And eventually that money kind of has to be, if not paid back, at least the spending level has to be brought down to something a little more reasonable. And that's going to require either cut back everything all over the place or raise taxes a lot or some combination in between. And of course, one side thinks one side thinks another, and who gets taxed and stuff like that. But more than likely, taxes are going up somewhere. And so one place they can do this without raising taxes is they just remove some of the tax deferrals. So they may not have to raise taxes. What they do is they just take away the tax benefit of your 401k by making it not tax deductible.
Okay.
Well, that stinks. And that certainly doesn't help people or encourage them to save to retirement, which means less people are going to save for retirement, and even the people who are going to save less for retirement. And if they do that, what happens when they have to retire?
Yeah.
And then what government programs are going to need to support people who now don't have enough to live on? You're just pushing the problem further down the road and let some other elected official worry about it. I'm a baby boomer. I make jokes to all my interns and stuff, all my young people and stuff, that I'm going to vote in whoever's going to say they're going to take your money and give it to me in retirement. Okay?
And they still intern with you.
Yeah, well, they kind of stuck, right?
Oh, okay.
But that's a joke I make, but it's not so much joking because of the fact that let's face it, younger folks don't vote as much, older folks do, and so the politicians want to make us happy. And so, we want to make sure that our benefits are cut. Well, who do you end up taxing? You end up tax people who are working.
Yeah.
And who's going to work longer than me? Somebody younger than me.
Somebody younger than you.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of older individuals, let's talk long-term care insurance.
Okay.
Is that important? We hear, yeah, you should get it. No, you shouldn't get it. Somebody has something happen. They're like, yes, yada, yada.